Members of the Operation Dudula movement are meeting today in Soweto despite growing criticism. The organization says its fight against illegal migrants committing crimes will continue, but that it is not associated with the operation that took place in Alexandra Township recently. Well, let's take you to eNCA's reporter Lindokuhle Xulu, who is following that story and joins us now for an update. So, Lindo, it's controversial, is Operation Dudula. Despite the criticisms, including from government, some leaders in government, it seems their operations forge ahead. What was the focus of today?
Well, today, Tulas, the Operation Dudula is having a meeting, a general meeting with some of its members here at Dorothy Nyembe Park, that is in Dobsonville. This is essentially a report back and to just give some of their constituencies, some of the successes that some of their operations had. We do know that we've seen them across the country fighting against, of course, what they call illegal immigrants in the country and securing a future in terms of jobs for South Africans. But today it is a meeting of reporting back to those that are part of this particular operation. Ntanta Lax Ntanta Dlamini is joining us, in fact, right now to give us a sense of what some of the contents of those report backs are. Thank you so much for joining us. Just give us a sense. You've been faced with a lot of criticism. Some have called you xenophobic, some have called you, vigilantes, just out on a loose. But just give us a sense of what you are telling your constituencies about the successes that might be there with some of your operations.
Look, let's first talk a little bit about us being called names, xenophobic, vigilantes. Quite frankly, it does not matter what you think about us. What's important is the reality that we stand for. Our reality is simple. We put South Africans first in South Africa. No compromise. If you feel different about it, you can move. Otherwise, you can come here and confront us. No problem. We've got a situation in the Western Cape where Sotho nationals are fighting against Zimbabweans. That's not vigilantism. That's not barbaric. Fighting for jobs in our country, and they claim that they've reached agreements of 50-50. Where are the South Africans in that agreement? We are led by nonsense leadership here. If we're in leadership, those things would never even be happening. They must go make deals in their own countries, not this country. Yes, we said it. That's what it is. You put South Africans first. What's left over from the resources that are used by South Africans can be shared amongst whoever else. But let's focus on today's mission. Today's mission is for us to give feedback to our communities, to say that in different areas we managed to succeed with drugs. That case that the drug dealers that we arrested with the police and law enforcement a few months ago, the case, the update is this. They've appeared in court because our people need to know those things, because we're not just a movement and just making noise endlessly on the streets. We need to have the other side where we also manage things formally and be able to report back formally to our constituents, constituency being our people and South Africans in particular. What happened with the immigration cases? We also discussed the fact that when we had that Operation Ukaimulao, yes, it was beautiful. People were taken to Lindela, and when they get to Lindela, then people disappear because we are drowning in corruption. So we're discussing how do we then help our police, our government, so that we make sure that the loose ends we tighten them up, because sometimes it's not government. Sometimes it's that odd individual police officer, metro police officer, immigration officer who just can't think beyond their hand, because they think that their own greedy foolishness is way above the people of South Africa, and that makes government look bad. So we are actually in the position where we are starting to speak to government, engage government, work with government, and see which ministries have an appetite to work with us. How do we add value to them? Like the police, for example. The police are clueless. It's time now for us, instead of saying clueless every day, to say how do we actually fix it? How do we manage to get the police to come and close the gap between law enforcement and the community? Because there's a large gap. The gap is so big you can walk through that gap sprinting and making flip-flops. So we need to make sure that we engage government, we hold them accountable so the country can go forward. There's no use all the time just clashing heads and just seeing who's got a bigger command than the others on the ground. So we need to have this direction, and I'm happy it's happening. We've reported it that we did sit with a few ministers throughout our time now to moving to today, and some ministers are very positive. And that's why I can safely stand here and say that we do understand some small elements. The same way Dudula has small criminal elements of people claiming to be Dudula when they are not, and then new media report all of us to be bad. They are vigilantes. They do this. Since Dudula started, we've never seen a drop of blood. We've never seen a physical fight between the two. And so Operation Dudula, there's a fight in Western Cape, and it's shame. At least they reached a compromise. That's the media. But with us, it's pretty different. But yeah, the reality.
Interest of time, Lux, they did tell me that I must wrap it up. Just a curious one from myself. Who are these ministers you are speaking about that are agreeing with you to work with you? Just very quickly.
Look, the ministers have said it publicly. It's not a secret thing. That they Aaron Motsoaledi has complimented Dudula and is willing. The doors are open for us to go engage him. That Peggy Kaile, the Minister of Police, is there with an open door policy to say that is willing to work with us and see, or within the frameworks of the law, what's the best thing we can do so that it's Rayboff without it having loose ends. And we've got the Tulas. I see, as much as he disagrees with a lot of things, he agrees with a few things. So it's collaboration will take the country forward. I mean, I can mention for a few other ministers, but I just don't have them at the top of my head. Yeah.
All right, Lux, we'll leave it there for now. We'll continue this conversation offline. But Tulas, it seems that it's all systems go according to what Lux is saying. They are saying that they are reporting back, giving feedback to some of their members about the successes they've had. He recounted some of the cases that they were in fact there when some of the drug dealers, he says, were apprehended, and he says that they are appearing in courts, which is something that they are hoping will be encouraging some of the followers that they have behind us in terms of continuing to try and move forward. But more than anything, he's mentioned a couple of ministers that he says they are trying to find a way in which to work together to move forward in terms of making sure that illegal immigrants are in fact deported back into their countries, to open up space, economic possibilities for South Africa to actually engage in.